Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Hendrickson. Today we're going to be starting our unit about the American Revolution, and our first lesson is called The French in Louisiana. We're going to start with Section 8 called LaSalle Claims Louisiana. In 1670, New France consisted of only a few fur trading posts in Canada. Now remember, Canada is the country that's to the north of the United States. This would change after 1673 when two French explorers reached a mighty river flowing south. Native Americans called it the Mississippi, which means Father of Waters. The first French colonists to explore the Mississippi River were Jacques Marquette, a missionary, and Louis Joliet, a fur trader. In 1673, they traveled by canoe as far as the Arkansas River, a tributary of the Mississippi, before turning back. A tributary is a river or stream that flows into a larger river. LaSalle's expedition. As word of the enormous river spread across New France, other explorers saw an opportunity to gain wealth. In 1682, Robert de La Salle led an expedition down the Mississippi River. His followers built a fort at what is today Memphis, Tennessee. Then they continued, paddling to the mouth of the river on the Gulf of Mexico. There, La Salle claimed the Mississippi River and its tributaries for France. He named the territory Louisiana. A territory is an area of land controlled by another country. Plan for settlement. Excited by his discovery, La Salle sailed to France to gather support for a new colony. 2 years later, he returned with several hundred men. The plan was to sail west across the Gulf of Mexico and build a settlement at the mouth of the Mississippi River. From there, La Salle planned to travel farther west and take control of silver mines in New Spain. So it looks like he's going to try to either fight with the Spanish or somehow take control of the land that the Spanish people have already set up or colonized. La Salle's plan excited his followers, but it ended in failure. A poor navigator, he sailed 400 miles past the mouth of the river, landing in present-day Texas. Many of La Salle's men died from disease and starvation. Still, others were killed by Native Americans. In the end, the few men who survived revolted against La Salle. He was killed by his own men. Part B, Settling Louisiana. Now, before we get started, let's look at this map here, one of our text features, and we can see with our map key that the red area are British lands. That's our 13 colonies that we've been studying. The French lands are from up here in Canada, down past the Great Lakes, following all this area along the Mississippi River down to New Orleans and the Gulf of Mexico. So then they could sail back up the Atlantic Ocean and over to England. And then over here in the orange, we have Florida that the Spanish settled. And then this part of the New World that was called New Spain that the Spanish settled. And so that would be part of like Texas. All right, here we go, back up here. By 1690, France had claimed much of what is now the central United States and Canada. At that time, only a few thousand settlers lived in New France. Almost no Europeans had settled in the Louisiana Territory. The French realized that they were in danger of losing Louisiana to England or to Spain, whose explorers had reached the area. King Louis XIV of France decided to strengthen French control of the region. First settlements. In 1698, the French king appointed Pierre Le Moyne, Sieur d'Iberville, as the first governor of Louisiana. D'Iberville agreed with the king. France needed to control the Mississippi River. To do that, France needed a larger population or group of people in the area. D'Iberville feared the English would take over and wrote, "If France does not seize this most beautiful part of America and set up a colony, dot, dot, dot. He was worried that they would lose it to England or Spain. New Orleans. After D'Iberville died in 1706, his brother Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne, Sieur de Bienville, became governor of Louisiana. In 1718, he founded New Orleans, about 100 miles north of the mouth of the Mississippi River. The settlement drew many settlers to Louisiana. New Orleans became the largest French settlement in Louisiana. Unlike settlers of New France, who worked mainly in the fur trade, colonists in Louisiana built plantations. Planters brought in enslaved Africans to raise indigo, rice, and tobacco. This sounds a lot like what the southern plantations in the 13 colonies were doing as well. Next section, slow growth. By 1740, France claimed an area from Canada down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. By 1760, the French had 85,000 settlers, compared to 2 million in the English colonies. However, French control of the area prevented the English from moving west. All right, boys and girls, that is our section for today. Go ahead and finish your work on Canvas. Thanks.